Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Single Chronicles. I'm back, a little 2 week sabbatical. Anyway, we are here to talk about single mothers versus baby mamas. And yes, I've talked about this briefly before, but I'm going to get my take in it. It's been a lot that's happened in the last 2 weeks since I've last been in the saddle. So yeah, sit back and relax. If you are new here, make sure you hit the share button, heart it, favorite, whatever you got to do. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, but hit the bell to be notified. And if you're on Patreon, you already are doing what you need to do. For everyone else, welcome to the Single Chronicles. Hey. Oh man, I'm back again in the saddle, in the studio. I look a little different. My hair is out. For those of you who don't know what I look like with my natural hair, here it is. Shrinkage and all. Yes, it is as long as the weaves that I sport. I do not just wear, weaves in my hair just for the sake of wearing them. But anyway, enough about that. Enough about the hair. It'll probably be some crazy color, but you gotta let your shit air out. That's another misconception that I want to actually discuss briefly. 5 seconds here. Women that wear weaves, wigs, or anything, any apparatus in their hair, whatever, doesn't mean that they don't have hair, that the hair's not healthy, natural, or any of those things, or that they hate their hair texture. I like to wear crazy colors. I probably have explained this, not that I need to explain this, but I like to wear crazy colors, purple, pink, blue. Like if you've been watching just this season alone, I've probably been through like 5 colors. So yeah, that's just me, and it's a part of my personality. I like to switch things up, and then sometimes I like to just be me with my hair out resting. And it was a perfect day to do it because it was raining and muggy, and it just felt so good for the air to hit my scalp. But anyway, that's that. So when you see a girl with a weave, whatever color, whatever length, don't just assume, oh, she bald headed, and don't assume it's just black women, because all women have had weaves. Men would have weaves. They're called toupees, but whatever, I digress. Back to the Single Chronicles. A lot has happened in 2 weeks. Now, if you were tuned into my website, drunkeninsomniacwriter.com, I actually discussed a lot of this. Some of it I kept hush. And we're not going to get all of this in 30 minutes. And I'm not going to overdraw this episode, even though I've been going for 2 weeks. But we are going to kind of go over some of it, and we'll come back to these topics more so individually. Darn, I take 2 weeks off, and it's like, holy crap. Like, what is going on, you guys? So anyway, I'm going to just give a shout out, and well, not even really a shout out. I just want to give my condolences to the family of Kevin Samuels, his friends, his people that were employed by him, that worked with him. A lot of people were like, oh yeah, you hated Kevin Samuels. I know you happy. First of all, I have not once applauded or celebrated anyone's death. Even the most vile, despicable human being that you could think of, that's still someone's family. Someone who is attached to that person has lost someone. So who celebrates death? That's just retarded. Anyway, unless it's a movie and it's a stupid character in a movie that does something, like the guy in the zombie flicks that always gets bit and don't want to tell nobody, so they wrap it up and act like ain't nothing wrong. Yeah, I root for that person to die, but that's a fake fictional character. Real life, no. I wouldn't sit up there and say, oh yeah, I'm glad he gone. Who does that? That's just bitter and mean and just evil. So I want to just give my condolences. No, I wasn't a fan of Kevin Samuels. I got the opportunity to check out a lot of his content, mostly on Instagram, bits and pieces. A lot of what that has been put out there is stuff that was out of context. There are some posts that he's done, like videos. I've watched the whole thing. Some things I liked that he said, some stuff I didn't like, some stuff I thought, he has a point. The delivery is just all fucked up. And then there's some stuff where he just nailed it. Then there's some things that I'll be like, but I never really hated him. What I hated was his fans. Some of his fans got on my nerves because they were fucking hypocrites. It's like this. People, like, with the whole, like, if you think about politics in the last couple of years, in the last, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years, we've become a society that's so divisive. You know, I can't agree with you. I can't disagree with you. You can't disagree with me. So we just got to hate each other naturally. We've just become so divisive. If you don't agree with the things I say, I got to hate you and vice versa. And it's not like that. We can agree to disagree. We can get along. We're humans, you know. At the end of the day, we should be able to agree to disagree. It shouldn't be that I'm going to hate the whole lot of you because of 1 or 2 or 3 of you, or the few that I come across. Because not everyone is cookie cutter the same. And how this ties into single mothers versus baby mamas, I'll get to that. But like I said, with Kevin Samuels, and I wrote a piece about it. It was just basically a news report, you know, reporting on his death, which I didn't even believe at first. I was like, yeah, right. And someone sent it, was like, no, it's real. And I was like, Google, Twitter. And it was confirmed that he had passed away suddenly. And he was young. He was only he's a little bit more than 10 years older than me, but he was up there. You know, he wasn't old, you know, like, you expect people dying like that is in an unnatural cause, you know, an accident or violence, gunshot, something like that. Something, you know, he woke, you know, they woke up and found this man dead. So you think about it, you're like, damn, what the heck? You know, you don't expect that. You expect, nowadays when people die suddenly at a young age, you think, well, what happened? You know, oh, something happened to them, not, you know, they just dropped dead. And we still don't know why. There's a lot of stuff floating around. But anyway, this whole episode is not about him. But it's going to tie into his flans. I'm going to flans because that means flunky fans. Because there are some people that genuinely took into account of what he said. And then there are others that took bits and pieces out of context and ran with it. And it didn't apply to them any fucking way. Roe v. Wade. But I guess it relates to this shit. That got leaked. And I posted a article on my page. I retracted it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this episode and then put that out there. Put it back out there. So there are a few people. I think it was like 20 people that actually saw it. That went live. That are subscribed to my website, drunkeninsomniacwriter.com. So they get those notifications sent to them in the email. And they were like, so they were on it. But I retracted. I put it back in the drafts because there were I wanted to do more, I guess, reading, you know, some research. You know, I had been in like Twitter groups and, you know, they got those like things where you get to talk with people. I was just listening. I wanted so bad to say something. And that's how we are as humans. We got to be heard. We don't want to feel invalidated. We want our point of view to get across. And I was one of those people, you know, especially women. Women are just, and you know, we're just used to we're used to being seen and not heard. So we got to say what we got to say. And it pertains to fucking women. And it's like, oh shit, yeah, it does pertain to women. We should be the ones to have something to say. But I was like, I'm going to, my poor mic falling apart. It's pertaining to us, so we should have the final say. But then I was like, let me read, because like I said, this isn't an actual law per se. It's just some documents, you know, that they're going to put out there. Whatever. My point is, I'm pro-choice, obviously. It's none of my business as to why someone wants or needs to get an abortion. It could be any reason. And before you get on my on here soapbox, oh, it's a sin. I'm not fucking Christian. I mean, I am a Jew, so I guess that your Christian views kind of spawned from us, and of course paganism. I always felt it was such a contradiction to be Christian. Some of the all the monotheistic religions in my mindset are kind of contradict each other from time to time. But I still have a faith in a higher power. If I had to peg which of the monotheistic ones, I'll go with the first one, Judaism, saying that's what I relate to. Anyway, enough about me. You know, before you get on your pro-life soapbox, there are a lot of things wrong in this country that will prove that the world is not pro-life, it's pro-choice. It's pro-birth. Because it's like, once you spit the babies out of here, it's like, oh, we don't care. We got a whole shortage of formula going on right there. And Roe v. Wade is still a topic that people are talking more about right now. And I almost got on my soapbox about that too. I was like, well, breastfeeding. Like, Bette Midler most posted something on Twitter and it was like insensitive about breastfeeding. And of course, people got triggered. And they were like, oh my God, how can you say something insensitive? Not everyone can breastfeed. We're not talking about the ones that can't. Clearly, we're talking about the ones that can breastfeed. Obviously. So if you can, do it. So you could save some of the formula for the people that can't, won't, or whatever. Then you got the people that are vegan. They're like, oh, we don't bother us. We making our own, alkaline vegan. If you can't breastfeed for whatever reason, all right, I'm making my baby's milk. Because there was a point in human history where this wouldn't have been a thing. We've become so reliant on our, these convenient things that we have that when someone takes it away, it's like, oh my God. If the internet goes down today, total anarchy, because a lot of our infrastructure has been, has been built around this new thing, the internet. Well, it's not new, but it's new in terms of how long humans have been on the planet. So our infrastructure is built around that. Like, it was like, okay, we're going to use this to be convenient, like microwaves, for example. We all use them. Well, not all, but the majority of people use them. So if there were no microwaves tomorrow, a lot of people would be at SOL, because a lot of people don't know how to fucking cook, which is just weird to me, but it is what it is. Anyway, so we got a lot to unpack, and I think this is going to have to be a part 2. But the single mothers, this is what I want to talk about. And this happens a lot with a lot of things going on, especially on social media. People project shit. I'm a single mom. You can call me a baby mama. You can call me a single mom. I don't give a shit what you call. My daughter's grown right now, and I'm still single. I'm single by choice. A lot of people, they look at it as a badge on their chest. It's not a badge on my chest to have had to raise a child by myself. It was one of the hardest fucking things that I ever had to do. Not hard as in, impossible, but there were a lot of things that I did wrong as a single mom. There were a lot of things that I could have done better. Does that mean I was the worst mother out there? No. There's no feast or famine. There's always gray area. Just because you didn't do the best job, I'm not saying you should get credit for it, because this is what the fuck you're supposed to do. You decided to have a baby. Yeah, you should shelter, clothe, and feed that child. You don't need an award for that. We always, I don't know if this is the thing in other countries, but Americans, we want recognition and validation for shit we're supposed to do. I'm sorry, my bracelet, I have a charm bracelet on, and they're kind of big, so I'm going to put them over here because they're making all this noise. But we want validations for the shit we're supposed to do. Like, you want a gold star? Oh, you fed your child today. And I understand why, because there are some people that can't do it. Like, they get up and they cannot feed themselves or their children. And I've been there. Like, I don't want no award for that, though, because I made a way out of nothing. That's nothing to brag about. And we've turned it into, this bragging right that you overcome adversity. You struggled and you survived the struggle. And there's nothing wrong with overcoming adversity. There's nothing wrong with beating the odds, and doing what you need to do to get ahead in life. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's a beautiful thing that despite these things that have happened, these choices that you have made, you came out on the other side. Because at the end of the day, every choice leads us to a destination that's good or bad. You can make one good choice one day, and then that will follow you the rest of your life, and you're like, hey, everything's fine. You can make a bad choice that will ruin your life for the rest of your life. It just will. And we're all one bad decision and one bad day from complete ruin. It only takes that one choice, that one drink, and you go and crash your car into somebody. It could be anything. But anyway, seems like people have confused this whole single mother and baby mamas. And let me differentiate that. I'm not talking to the women that had kids and got divorced, or had kids and, the spouse died, or men, whatever. I'm not talking to some folks within the LGBTQ plus community, because you got same sex marriages and stuff like that. We're not talking about them unless they are people that deliberately had a child out of wedlock with a person. And I'm not even going to say wedlock per se, because not every union of people together it results in they're not married, it's not good. Because look at Kurt Russell and what's the name, they've been together for like ever. For as matter of fact, I think their kid is like around my age. If you don't know who he was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's Kurt Russell and Meg Ryan. What's her name? Whatever. But y'all know who Kurt Russell is. He was in a lot of stuff. Big Trouble in Little China. Was it Big Trouble in Little China? And then he was in one of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But anyway, I'm not going. It's not what that's about. But he's been partnered with her for a long time. A lot of people do that. Marriage doesn't mean you don't love the person. There's a lot of people that don't particularly care about marriage. It doesn't, define who they are. Cause shit, he was married for a long time. That shit ain't never work out. Goldie Hawn, that's her name. Yes, because I'm thinking about Overboard and stuff. But they've been together since I've been alive. I've known them to be together for like ever. So, and they have kids. My thing is, regardless of whatever the reason might be, that, they love each other. So I'm not even going to say marriage. I'm going to say union. If you've had kids with a person that you had no intention on being with, who had no intention on being with you, and you have a baby knowing full on well that they are not in this mindset to have a child with you, then you're a baby mama. And you're going to be, and those are the women that tend to be embittered by their situation. Because you knew that this person didn't want kids. I've been there. Like, I knew my child's father didn't want any kids. Now, I told him I didn't want any kids. I didn't even want to get the fuck pregnant. I was like, yo, bro, you using something? Because something feels kind of wrong. And I didn't know, because he was like the second person I had ever been with. So I didn't know. And the first person was like, put it in. Oh, no, take it out. I don't want to do it. I didn't know then I was not equipped to be with men. But anyway, the point is that I was like, wait a minute, something feels wrong. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was lack of a condom being on, or the condom broke, whatever case might be, but it didn't. Lo and behold, we have a child. And I was like, at that point, I was very pro-life. I was like, no. And I considered the whole abortion thing, but I was like, no, that's a sin. I'm not going to hell. Like, I'm being raised by a pastor, an ordained minister. I'm not having no abortion. And my grandma was like, don't you get rid of it. You have that baby. You don't want to burn in hell. And I'll discuss that later. But anyway, I was like, no. So, anyway, long story short, I had my child. He didn't want any, so he skated. And I was left to raise her by myself. It was tough. Because it got to points where I wanted to be with somebody. I was 21 when I had her. 20 when I got pregnant. That's still relatively a young age for someone who lived a very sheltered life. I had just started to see the world, got my place, all that, and here and now I got to move back home with a baby. Was I upset at points of my life in that year? I was. But then I was like, you know what? This is a decision that I made. He don't want to be a part of her life. Fuck him. Oh, well, I'm going to go do what I got to do. Like, I'm not going to revolve me raising my child around a person that does not want to be involved in the raising of that child. That was just retarded to me. I saw my mom and my pop go through that. And it was like, because he didn't do what she wanted him to do, and she didn't do what he wanted to do, it was always chaos. I didn't want that for my child. I would rather him not be there than to him be there and cause chaos and break her heart. Now, because of that, I didn't tell him he couldn't be around. I said, look, I'm not going out of my way to contact you to be responsible for your child. I'm not even going out of my way for child support. That didn't happen until I applied for, like, child care when I decided to go back to work in school. But the point is that I was like, yo, bro, You got my number, you got my address, you know where I am. I'm moving back home. So if you want to be in contact with your daughter, there's no excuse. And moving along, hurry up, get to the point. The point is that I raised her by myself. I was a baby mama, but I was also a single mom. And the fact that I didn't ask to be a mom, I didn't want to be. I never wanted children to begin with, but I didn't ask to be a mom. I wasn't embittered by it. I wasn't one of those bitter baby mamas that have sex with a guy who just, you're not really with this person, but you have sex with him, and then you're stuck with the consequences, and then you blaming him. I blamed him for not using protection or knowing that the condom broke and then not doing. Then I found out he habitually did this. It was like 6 or 7 other females he got pregnant and coerced them into getting abortions. Damn near threatened them to get abortions. I guess it didn't work with me because I was just so not super Christian, but I was more afraid of getting an abortion than I was to have a child. Later on in life, that view changed a lot. But the point was that I was afraid. So I was like, no, I'm going to just go through with it. Scariest moment of my life, and I went through it by myself, and I still wasn't embittered. A part of me was, but for the most part I wasn't. But anyway, back to this. Single mothers, baby mamas. Ladies, if you have sex with a guy, at the end of the day, not to dispute what these fuckers are talking about in the Supreme Court, it is a female's choice whether or not she's going to decide to carry that baby. Yes, now, should the man have input? Yeah, he should. But at the end of the day, it's inside of her body. So she can go and decide to get rid of it at any point. If she gets hit by a car, guess what? That baby is going to probably perish with her if she should die. So the point is, at the end of the day, yeah, while I believe that the father of the child should have some input, and that he should have some input. The point of the matter is, and this is where I think a lot of men hate this, the idea, and your homie Kevin Samuels actually said this, at the end of the day, it's her choice to have that child, regardless of the circumstance or the situation. If that is not her husband or her partner or whatever, it's not a union of some sort, then guess what? They can decide to walk off and have that abortion or whatever, or adoption or whatever. You could choose. It's up to them. What are you going to do about it? For y'all, before y'all get all Christianized on my page, go look at Numbers. I think it's chapter 5. Yeah, just go read down the line of that. And then shut the hell up and go suck on the lemon. Anyway, single moms, y'all not heroes for the shit y'all do. All species of females, some males, do it. We the only ones that won a fucking award for it. And I'm not invalidating our experiences, because a lot of us have had to put that masculine energy up, that guard, that wall, and just be very defensive. We've had to defend ourselves from this privilege from men. We just always had to. And I'm not making excuses, but we've had to. The majority of us. So I understand why it's there. But at the end of the day, we need to stop projecting our shit. We project a lot of our baby mama bitterness onto other people. I think Kevin Samuels took the brunt of it. He took the bulk of it. Did I agree with what a lot of the shit he said? Not everything, but most of it. Now, some of the guys, they lived on every word, and they took a lot of his shit out of context. But at the end of the day, he was right about some stuff. Was he right about everything? Fuck no. None of us are perfect. I was talking about shaming women. There's intersectionality, intersectionalism, where you fall into all these overlapping circles. You, like me, I probably am an example of that. I didn't want to have a child, but I also made the calculating decision at 19 to be with someone who was not a responsible relationship type. Because even when I think it was right around the time when I got pregnant, like right before that, he just did one of these ghosting things, and then he was just a terrible person. I've never really thought about it until now, but like he would just ghost people. Like very immature. Like I don't want to deal with what you're saying. Like he was never taught how to deal with things. So he would just ghost. And me being dumb, oh, I'm gonna take it back the next time. So I did, and then eventually coitus, got pregnant. And see, God don't like ugly because I wasn't being 100% faithful when it happened either. But anyway, needless to say, I had my child. Best gift in the world. Awesome kid. But a lot of shit happened after that. A lot of traumatic shit. A lot of terrible shit. Because I was not prepared to be a mom. And a lot of that didn't stem from the fact that I got knocked up by the wrong person. That shit was already there. You know? A lot of that shit was just a lot of trauma that was not resolved early on. But that's another story for another time. Another day. I told you, man, I took 2 weeks off. There's a lot of shit to unpack today. But still, Roe v. Wade, how that kind of ties into this. I see that this is a thing that they're discussing to say, hey, let's put it on a state level. They need to take the politicians out of this and bring in the medical professionals. They are the ones that are doing these procedures. Inevitably they know what's bad, like what the outcomes are likely depending on how far down the line it is, when is life determined, when does it go from being an embryo to an actual fetus to a baby, whatever, the terminology. We get caught up on the terminology and the politics of it, but we really need to have medical professionals up in the Supreme Court giving opinions about this, and their medical opinions, because they're just leaving it up to a bunch of politicians. And let's be honest, politicians haven't always led us in the best decisions. I mean, that's why gas is like $10 a gallon now in some states. So I say that to say this. Not everyone's situation is the same. And people keep saying, oh, I don't believe in the Roe v. Wade thing because not every, they say, like you got the left, liberal left saying, oh, well, what if it's rape or incest or this, that, and the third. And then you got the right saying, oh, that's only 2%. First of all, I'm going to tell you, as a survivor and a counselor, there's a high of more than, I want to even say about 40% of the people I actually interacted with did not report. They didn't report it. And because of HIPAA laws and different things, like they didn't report their rapes. They didn't report being assaulted or whatever. Not everything is cookie cutter like, oh, well, they got raped. Because a lot of times they go through it and they do not report it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. They might get an abortion, might not tell anybody how that they got pregnant or whatever the case. They might not say that it was coerced, any of that. So you can't say, oh, only 2%. When the vast number of people that this happens to don't even report it. Look at Weinstein, for example. Look how many people, it took decades before they came out. Or Bill Cosby, like decades. People don't come out right away. This, first of all, you go through a moment where you got to process, did this shit really just happen? So when you go through that, you're like, okay, and then you're like, shit, I got a baby now. What am I gonna do with this? So I hate when they say that, because it invalidates the women that couldn't or didn't know how to say something, or felt that if they did, they would be ostracized or blamed, because women do get blamed for their own assaults. So that is just a thing. And like I said, I know we're all over the place, and I'm trying to cover 2 weeks worth of talking. But it's crazy. And I'm going to actually end this with this. We got to stop the gaslighting. We gaslight our insecurities, and we detract from what the real problem at hand is. And the problem isn't that having an abortion is wrong, Kevin Samuels is wrong in this. It's about the fact that we haven't dealt with our turmoil, our trauma, and our toxicity. And instead of dealing with that, we want to project it and put a title on it. All right, y'all. I'm going to go head on over to the writer's reflections. But first, I got a little message for y'all. We're going over the limit there. Because all these subtopics can be one long topic, but I wanted to kind of brush it, and we're going to come back to all of this. So let's go to our sponsor, Yeah, I wanted to get to the quick sponsor. We actually do not have a business sponsor of the day. I want to take this moment to highlight the merch store. Yes, Insomniac merch store. If you head on over, I'm gonna put the link down here somewhere in the description box. We got some goodies. Pride Month is coming up. Now, all these companies are going to be throwing rainbows on everything. So why don't you get, if you want to support the LGBTQ plus IA, whatever, the alphabet, why don't you do it with someone you actually know, trust, who's actually a part of that group. I'll represent the B and P in there. So with that being said, head on over to Insomniac Writer merch.creator-spring.com. Don't worry, it's a mouthful. I'll leave it down there. And get you a t-shirt. But I'm just releasing, and I don't have a t-shirt here, but I am going to bring that. This is going to be a spotlight again, but I do have a new thing. It's called Unapologetic, and it's in rainbow font. It's really dope, and I wanted to put that out there because I'm like, you know what? One thing about us is that, or me personally, is that I'm not going to apologize for who or what I am because you don't like it. And that's all there is to it. So do that. Use promo code SHIP for free and get free shipping. Or you're going to use Save 15, get you 15%. I'm sorry, Cyber 25, get 25% off. Yes, I'm getting you 25% off. Cyber, all one word, 25. Yeah, that was the Cyber Monday sale. I'm bringing that back just for you guys. Get you 25% off or ship for free and get free shipping. Yeah. Isn't that beautiful? So, go ahead on over there, save you some dough, save you some moolah, and shop that. If you're not really for it, you can get a Single Chronicles, Love Yourself. I'm still single, I'm not married. I got a lot of stuff in my merch store. So, go check that out. And Patreon, I've relaunched my Patreon page. If you become a Patreon, there's different tiers and levels. You can get free merch. You can get exclusive content, which I'm gonna start putting back out there. One-on-ones. You get a lot of different stuff, and it's not just for the Single Chronicles in my blog. It's also related to Twerkout and Zumba. To say, if you want a one-on-one, become a Patreon. Yeah, I'm not on GoFans, Go whatever. Anyway, go ahead on over there and check it out. Hey, so let's get to these writer reflections. Hey, I want to thank you so much for tuning into the Single Chronicles. I know I had a mouthful for you today. We tried to cover a lot of topics, and I wanted to basically come back to the single mothers thing. As a single mother, I feel that a lot of flack has been unjustly thrown our way because not all single mothers are single mothers for the same exact reason. Yes, this plagues the Black community, Black American community, African American community, whatever you want to call this. It plagues us a lot differently than other races, yes, but at the same time, it's still an issue with a lot of people. We went from, if a woman was single, she had to be married into another family so that her and the kids could eat because she wasn't allowed to work. That's not the case nowadays. Things have changed, but the stigma towards women that have kids that are unwed, vastly horrible. I have a very close friend who unfortunately lost her husband, who was my close friend from growing up as kids. He passed away suddenly, and she was a single mom of 3. But she said it's been hard to date because people, when they hear that she's a single mom of 3 children who pretty much are grown now, but she said over the years it's been hard because she had to do it all, and most people assume that she's just this bitter baby mama when no, she was married happily and they had some kids, and he unfortunately passed, and we were young when he passed away. So she found that dating is hard because of the stigma, and I can relate, and I only have one. But we have to stop doing that. We have to stop being so divisive as a community. Now, I'm not saying we have to do it for the culture or the community, but as a human race, it takes a village. That's the mindset that we had when we came from the motherland. It takes a village. You know, you're not alone in this. You know, when a person on the block, a house catches on fire, we all get together, let's donate food and clothes and this to get the family back on their feet. You know, we have this selfish mindset, and we categorize people, and we just kind of leave them out to dry, and it's like, you're on your own. You know, hey, you had that baby by yourself, you better raise that baby by yourself. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be accountable for the mistakes of why we had babies, or why, you know, you became a single parent at a young age. And yes, there should be some accountability, but at the same time, there also needs to be compassion. And that's in the short demand these days. It's short supply these days, probably more so than gas and baby formula. So I just wanted to say that we're going to come back to these topics again later on. It's definitely conversations, and I guess I tried to cover 3 weeks worth of content in 30 minutes. I did not do well doing that, but we'll come back to you. We'll come back to this. I promise. It's a lot. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to check out this week's Spotlight Business of the Day, aka sponsor, which would be myself, Insomniac Writer merch. Again, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I'm glad to be back. Yeah, definitely glad to be back. So I will see you guys later. I will be back next week with another episode, or probably a part 2 of this. I had a confession scheduled. Gotta get my notes. Yeah, I had a confession scheduled for this week when I was going to return, but there was so much that I wanted to talk about. Oh my God, I gotta get to the studio. So we'll come back to it. There's going to be a part 2 of this particular discussion. I want to have some ideas to bounce back off of everyone, but thank you so much for waiting, tuning in. It's great to be back. Yes. So I am going to get off of here, end this like I end every episode, and that is be awesome, be you, but above all else, love yourself. And I will talk to you guys later.